Welcome, everyone, to this week's edition of Ask Aziz, where we help you solve the biggest challenges holding back your growth and the results you're looking for. And you're able to get advice directly from me on demand when you need it most. So, before we get started, I just wanted to a quick recap of the week at Accelerate Aziz, because, like I said in last week's session, it's really important that we celebrate our wins, no matter how small or how big. And often, as high performers, we forget to celebrate our wins. But when we celebrate our wins, we activate what is known as the winner effect. And what this means is that every time we celebrate our wins, we rewire our brains in a way that identifies more opportunities for us to win. So, what then happens is the result is that we actually win more. And that's where the saying comes from: winners win more, right? And so it's really important we celebrate our wins. And one of the wins that I want to celebrate with all of you, my community, this week is that we are almost at 50 members, right? In a few short weeks, we've managed to hit this amazing milestone in terms of building out our community, our impact, and transforming entrepreneurs, their businesses, and the way that they do things. And it is such an amazing feeling. And I sit here with such gratitude. And I guess to a certain extent, this is a bit of a humble brag. Um, just to say that I'm so joyful by the fact that I am given this opportunity to make this impact, that I've created this platform to deliver this kind of transformation to you all and your businesses, and essentially help support my mission of elevating wealth creation globally. So it's a great milestone for us, 50 people, just a few short weeks, and we keep growing. And I appreciate the love I'm getting from the community right now. Thanks, guys. So yeah, it's been a great start to the week for us, and I wanted to take that moment to celebrate the win and also dive in a little bit into kind of the mechanics behind creating the community, right? Because ultimately, as I've said, for those of you that haven't gone yet through the 3 secrets to hack the growth of your business, please go and do that. But in there, I talk about this idea of providing value in advance, right? You have to put this law of delivering value in advance to work in your business in order to magnetize the right clients to you and to what you do and the unique value that you provide in the marketplace, right? So, I once had a mentor that used to say, every engagement starts with, oh, what's going on now? Hold on. Let's figure out what's happening here. 1 second, guys. Where is this? I don't know what's going on here. 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. And we're back after that short technical intermission. So, as I was saying, it's really powerful to provide your clients with some kind of value in advance and some type of, let's call it a taste or an experience of what you do. And so, one of my mentors used to say, every conversion happens with a powerful conversation, and I think that's really true. You have to be able to provide someone with a small version of the result that you offer, in terms of the impact that you deliver. And that's what this community is here to do. It's here to provide you guys with an experience, a taste of the transformation that I provide, and the impact and the results that I could deliver to your business if we work with each other one-on-one. And that's why, as I mentioned briefly last week, we've now launched the premium offer, which is Achieve with Aziz. And this is a great way to kind of accelerate the kind of impact that you want and the results that you want, and essentially get there faster. And so I wanted to actually just take a moment to have a look at some of the things that we're including inside of the premium program. So if we have a look here, essentially what we start off with, and this is how I deal with every client that I engage with for the first time, right? It's essentially, we start off with what I call a rent my brain session. So this is a half a day strategy session where we take a deep dive into your business, and we look at the business model, the target market, the goals, and we identify what is possible over the next 90 days and the next 12 months. And, we really go deep in terms of how you're currently generating leads. What are you doing to convert sales? What's your current conversion rate, right? What are you spending? What is your cost to acquire a customer? And how can we maximize your average order value, right? In terms of how much people are spending with you. And then also, and this is most important for profitability, is we look at client lifetime value, i.e., what is, if a client stays with you for 12 months, what is that client worth to you over that 12-month term, right? Because that is essentially the hallmark of creating predictable revenue, is to start maximizing not only how much clients spend with you, but how long they stay with you, right? Because it's no point you making big sort of, let's call it transactional sales, but you're not able to keep a customer for longer than 7 days or 30 days, right? Because that means you're constantly on that hamster wheel of trying to generate new transactions, and you're constantly spending cash acquiring new customers just so you can make a transaction, which will actually negatively impact your profitability. So instead of doing that, what we try and do is, how can we create a transaction to acquire a client, right? Because once we have that client, once we build that database of clients, right, we can sell them multiple offers over and over and over again, but it doesn't cost us more money. So essentially, after we've acquired them for the first time and they've made their first transaction or investment with us, everything we sell them after that is then pure profit. And this is why creating predictable revenue is so powerful, and maximizing the client lifetime journey is so integral to your long-term success, because it allows you to maximize your profit in a way that will eventually lead to you being able to extract that profit from the business and be able to place that profit into high return investments, which can then begin to pay you without your active participation and effort. All right. And so we look at that, right? And then after we look at that, we really kind of dig deep to identify, what is the number one thing holding you back from getting the results that you're looking for. And in most cases, and it's a funny thing to say, but in most cases, the biggest thing holding you back from the results that you're looking for is you, right? It's your leadership skills. It's your ability to get the best performance out of your existing team. It's your ability to recruit talent to a vision that they can buy into, right? A magnetic mission that they want to be a part of beyond just money, right? So we go deep into, you know, what is that number one thing holding you back? And then the fourth thing we look at is how do we generate new revenue and how do we optimize profit faster, right? Because like I was telling someone today, right? It's not about changing the amount of money that you're making, right? Because remember, in business, we have two levers. It's money and time. And so it's not necessarily about changing the amount of money that you make. It's about transforming how fast you make it, right? Because many people, like I was mentioning in the discussion today, many people in their lifetimes will make $1 million, right? So our job here is to identify, okay, well, if it takes us 10 years to make $1 million, how do we do it in 5? How do we do it in 3? How do we do it in 1? If we're doing it in 1, how do we do it in a month? Doing it in a month, how do we do it in a week? You get the picture, right? And ultimately, you will walk away from this Rent My Brain session feeling clear, confident, and excited to take your business to the next level. Then the second thing we do is we provide bi-weekly support sessions. And these are essentially brainstorming, problem-solving sessions, strategy, and not just strategy, but tactical sessions where we really, explore the 5 main pillars of success, which is, how are you moving towards your vision? Is your strategy on track and in alignment with your vision, right? Are you developing the skill sets necessary to execute and implement on your strategy, right? And is your mindset right? And don't discount mindset. I know it might sound like a soft skill, but it is a super important component of your success. Because if you have a limiting belief that says that you won't, you are probably right. I think Henry Ford said that, right? Whether you think you can, whether you think you can't, you're probably right. And the operative word there is think. So it doesn't matter what your actions are doing. If your mindset is playing a different song, if your subconscious is telling you a different story, if that lower self is whispering the wrong beliefs into your ear, it doesn't matter what your actions are. You're setting yourself up for sabotage. It's like driving a car and having your foot on the accelerator and your hand pulling up the handbrake at the same time. And then wondering, sitting, frustrated, and anxious why you aren't getting anywhere. And then the fifth thing that we look at is how you managing your energy. How are you managing your productivity? Because there's a big difference between being busy and being productive. And lots of us as entrepreneurs and business owners are busy, but we are not productive. Are we focusing on the urgent and the important priorities that are closest to the money, that are the small hinges that are going to swing the big doors and really make an impact on our top and bottom lines? Are we spending our entire day managing staff headaches, putting out fires, and playing the reactive game? Right? So it's really important from an energy standpoint. Like a quick hack is you should be spending the first hour of your day planning the rest of your day, so that you start with what is intentional and what is important and what is critical to your vision, to your strategy, to what you need to do to get the results that you want. What happens after that is fine, but start with what you need to do, right? Then the next thing that we do, which I found valuable, and I learned this in one of the masterminds that I was in, was this idea of a daily accountability partner program. And so this is essentially a way to, let's call it, wire your brain for the day in terms of coming back to what I just said, what is important and what is urgent. So spending 5 minutes, and you guys can actually start doing this yourselves already, or find a friend you can do it with, and it's just on a voice note basis. But the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning, after you've done your meditation, make it part of your daily morning routine, is pick up your phone, start the voice note and say to the person on the other end, and this is not about the answers, it's about asking the questions. That is the power of this exercise. So the questions are asking yourself and saying into the voice note, what am I grateful for right now? What was the win that I accomplished in the last 24 hours? Right? So starting your day with gratitude, celebrating your wins. What was your win in the last 24 hours? Then the third question is, what is my intention for the day? Right? And if you can boil that down to a single thing, right? Like we believe that if you can be 1% better every single day, you can win, right? You can outwork everybody else in the marketplace. So what is your clear, singular intention, single-minded vision for today? What is it that you are going to accomplish on this day? The fourth thing is, what is the challenge that you are facing right now? Right? To physically mouth and make audible, what is the challenge I'm facing right now? And when you say that challenge, think to yourself in your head, right? What can I do about this? What can I read to help me fix this? And who can I speak to help me solve this? And then the fifth question is, and this might seem a bit, woo-woo, foo-foo to some of you, but I promise you it works. I've done it. It's like the universe just kind of, helps you get there. But put your question to the universe. What is if you had a blank check and you could ask the universe anything right now, what would that question be? So those are the 5 questions. What are you grateful for? What was your win in the past 24 hours? What's your intention for today? What's your challenge right now? What's your question for the universe? And it's really powerful. Try it, it works. And then as a bonus, what I also provide is what I call the Ask Aziz again voice note helpline. And this is essentially on-demand problem solving, right? So if you're facing that problem in your business right now, whether it's a staff issue, whether it's, how to manage your cash flow, how to increase your conversion rate, how to reduce your customer acquisition costs, how to optimize your sales system, whatever that thing is you're struggling with right now, all you need to do is pick up the red phone. So those are some of the things that we're offering inside Achieve with Aziz, which is my Inner Circle program to help you get results even faster. It's our premium program inside the Accelerate with Aziz community. So if you're happy to do the DIY route yourself, 100% fine. There's enough information in the Accelerate Aziz community to get you started. But if you do want to get more access to me and work with me in a much more intimate Inner Circle group directly, then I would recommend that you join the program as the next step. So that's what we have inside the program. And I see we've got a couple of people on the call. Thank you for your time. Appreciate you guys being here. If there are any questions, this is what the session is about, to get questions from you, to be that, red phone in your week, and help you solve what you're dealing with right now. And so please, what are the questions? Take advantage of the opportunity, unmute if you need to, and let's get the conversation going. Because like I always say, all conversion happens in conversation. So, and also like, it's actually funny. Someone asked me the other day, should they go, they sent me an invitation they'd received to a networking event. And they asked me, do I think it's valuable? Should they go to the networking event? And also, if they do go, what are some of the ways that they can create a return on investment? And so the first part of the answer was yes, go, because I think it's a good opportunity for you to kind of spotlight yourself. And then the strategy to spotlight yourself is, when you're at the event, don't be the person in the back of the room taking notes or standing in the corner pretending to play on your phone. Be that person that engages, that asks questions, that gets up to the mic, right? Because the one thing about networking events that is certain is that everyone is there to sell and no one is there to buy. And so the way that you flip that around, the way that you shift that, is by being the one that gets spotlighted, by being the one that goes up to the mic and asks the intelligent questions. And that immediately differentiates you. That immediately establishes your authority in the room. And what this often does is it's a conversation start and an icebreaker for people to now approach you instead of you approaching people. And but the tactic here is also to slow down the scale and to create distance. And so the opportunity there is when people do approach you to, you know, appreciate them, but also slow down the scale in the sense of saying, you know, I'm actually here to get value from the event or the opportunity or the speakers. And if you'd like to chat, and again, this is about bringing people into your world, you know, let's swap details, let's share numbers, and we can follow up after the event, right? Because I think everyone is usually at these events, you know, handing out the business cards, desperately waiting to speak to particular people. And there's just a kind of green monster sales effect about it that's not, you know, very attractive. And so when you suddenly start pushing people away and act in a very opposite kind of way, it's a very interesting dynamic to create, which kind of disarms people and makes them more intrigued about what you have to offer, right? Because there's like what we say in sales is high intention and low attachment, right? So it's high intention to add value and create the sales opportunity, but low attachment to the result, right? And when you operate in this way, it's a dynamic that makes people much more responsive, as opposed to the kind of sleazy, slimy salesperson that just kind of will do whatever they need to do out of desperation to get what they want out of you, which is a sale. And so it's seen more as a value extraction than a value add. So yeah, as I said before, this is just me going on about the benefit of coming to the mic and asking the questions and standing out in the crowd. So if you do have any questions, if you are struggling with anything in your business right now, I know it can sometimes be difficult to ask for help. Someone actually pointed this out to me the other day, was that it's the strangest fact about human behavior. And I'm not being judgmental here or prejudiced in any way, but it's particularly true when it comes to men. And I think I can say that because I'm a man. But, you know, we find it difficult to ask for help. We find it difficult to raise our hands, and because we feel like it makes us vulnerable. So we find it difficult to be vulnerable. And it's the craziest thing because, you know, even if we are struggling, we battle to ask for that help. Because we want to be the lone wolf. We want to figure it out through trial and error. We want to spend time, money, and frustration going it alone and doing it all ourselves, so that, you know, we can in some way play to our egos, as opposed to getting the help that we need so we can succeed faster, so that we can have the financial freedom that we all want in our lives. Because like I was telling again someone today in the discussion, it's all about sorry, I don't know what's going on here with this alarm. At the end of the day, it's all about reaching that financial freedom. That's why we got into this game. And it's not easy. It's hard most of the time. Entrepreneurship is hard. Owning a business is hard. It sometimes feels like golden handcuffs. But if we have the right plan, if we put in place the right strategy, if we have the right support and the right guide, and we stay on mission with single-minded focus, we can achieve those results, and we can do it faster. Yes, so we do have a question here, and I like the question. So, old school marketing, door to door, is this an opportunity to build trust and familiarity with the client? So, face to face is, I think it's timeless, right? I know it's potentially an old school tactic, but I think it's a timeless one, in the sense that there is just something about being able to sit across the table from someone, or across the doorway in this case, that immediately scales trust, and brings familiarity, and is able to bring rapport. And that's why I always say, if you're just starting out, it doesn't matter that your business or your offer is a global one. The fastest way for you to make sales, to create conversion events, is to start local. Because people in your proximity, like if, for instance, you're in Cape Town and someone else in Cape Town, that is a much easier sale than you in Cape Town and someone else is in New York, right? Because the distance is a barrier to trust and credibility. And so I think the ability to sit across someone, from the table or across the doorway is, not only a marketing, but a sales tool in your arsenal that can never be discounted. And I don't think it will ever stop working. As much digital transformation comes to the world and makes the world a smaller place, the person that you can see, touch, and speak to physically, is always going to be the faster conversion than the one that you deal with virtually. So it's definitely not a discounted strategy. And I think, and I think this was something I was mentioning to you the other day, was that if you are going to do the face-to-face thing, you must accept and understand that it's a slower method to growth, right? Because you're doing it one-to-one, right? You're going physically to a place and you're knocking on the door. So from that point of view, your ticket, your price point needs to justify. It needs to be big ticket enough to justify how slow you're moving, if that makes sense, right? Because if you're selling yo-yos door to door, you're probably wasting your time, right? You're going to go broke. You're going to go broke making sales, literally, right? And so the price point of what you do has to justify that time and effort. And that's why I think, things like things that are much more premium, you can sell slower. Like if you think about, I was using in a conversation the other day with someone in the luxury space, and we were talking about Hermes and Rolex, right? So a Birkin bag is obviously a very coveted item in terms of Hermes, right? And so it doesn't matter how rich you are. It doesn't matter if you have the money and you're standing in the store waiting to buy. Everyone gets put on the waiting list. And even when you go to the store and there is stock, you can't choose which one you want. You have to take what is there, right? And this is a brilliant lesson in marketing, right? The way that they've manufactured demand for these Hermes bags. And so, it doesn't matter that you wanted a pink one. If black's what they have, black's what you're going to take. And it doesn't matter whether you're a celebrity or you a billionaire or you're a lawyer or a doctor. Everyone goes into the same queue, which I think is also pretty genius on their part. And similarly with Rolex, when you walk into a jeweler to buy a Rolex, you have to take the one that's available. You cannot say, I want, the gold one with the black dial, with the the oyster faced and the date perpetual, whatever it is. You have to take what is available. And so I think this is a great lesson in training clients on how to deal with you, right? And I think that's a powerful power positioning tactic and strategy, because I think that we groomed from a very young age to believe that the customer is always right. But the customer needs guidance. The customer needs certainty, and the customer needs, to a certain extent, training, right? And so if we create the funnels and the mechanisms and the strategies to be able to train and show clients how to deal with us, they will accept that as how they engage with us. And that's a very powerful positioning tool in the marketplace, which luxury brands have gotten very right. And we've just named now 2 examples. But I think that alone, like without changing what you do or your product or what you offer, your service, if you just change the way that you do business, the way that clients approach you, engage with you, receive fulfillment from you, that is a powerful tool in its own right. I don't know why this thing's going to slow down. I think it's the weather outside. My apologies, guys. So, yeah, I think that's a powerful positioning tool, and I hope I answered the question there. But I think it's something that you can't do in isolation, because I think that even with a high ticket, big ticket product, it's still too slow. And I don't think you could necessarily go door to door in the sense of like, with the security issues that, we have in the world right now. I think, I don't know if some of you remember, the encyclopedias of the world books that they used to kind of sell door to door back in the day. People just used to kind of rock up, knock on your door, or vacuum cleaner salesmen, for instance, used to rock up at your door and kind of come inside and do a demonstration. I don't think in today's world you'd have much luck doing that with strangers. But I think that it's a powerful way, once you've kind of brought them into your world, to close the deal, not necessarily to initiate the sale. But I think it's a powerful way to close the deal. Like, so Napoleon Hill, the guy that I mentioned, I'm reading the book by The Law of Success. He worked with I think it was GM Motors. And so what they used to do is they used to send out a postcard at the beginning of every week to every single client with one benefit of the vehicle they were promoting at that time. And then they would follow up with a one-on-one phone call to each and every person after the postcard was sent out. So they were using a mass marketing tool to provide awareness, and then they were getting on the call to close the sale. And so I think that's something that we can take away from this. So for instance, if you are using, paid ads on Facebook, for instance, to, or any of the other platforms, I'm not particularly promoting Facebook, but whatever platform you find your target audience on, if you're using ads to get to them, and then getting their information through those ads, and then following up with them using a phone call, or following up with them by setting up a physical meeting, scheduling a physical meeting, that's a powerful way to close the sale. And so that's a good way to scale what you do, as opposed to just doing door to door, because no one buys from anyone who they don't believe in someone. And so if you just rock up at a stranger's door and they don't know who you are, whether that's physically or virtually, the likelihood that you're going to make a sale is very low. And so you need to bring them into your world first. You need to make them understand that you are a leader in the space, you are an authority or a specialist in the space, an expert. And once you've done that, then through your marketing and your branding and your awareness in a mass way, then it becomes much easier to scale having the conversation one-on-one. And so another tactic on the sales side is having it be 2 people, right? So you have what they call an SDR, which essentially the job of this person is to connect with leads for the first time. Secondly, to qualify those leads as someone who is able to buy your product, wants to do so in the short term, and has the money to do so. So the acronym that we use for this qualification is actually called BANT. So it's budget, authority. So they have the budget, they have the money, they have the authority, they are the decision maker. They don't need their wife, their business partner, their friend sign off. They have a need, which is urgent. And the fourth one is timeline, right? So the timeline is sort of, within the next 30 days. So if you have someone getting on the phone, and this can be a very junior person, qualifying all of your leads according to this. So getting on a 10, 15-minute conversation, qualifying these people, and then their last priority is to set up a call with you as the closer. And then the follow-up call happens with you, or the follow-up meeting They can do a phone call, you can do a physical meeting if you want to leverage physical. But then it becomes really about, are they a right fit for you and what you do and how you can add value to their business. And then as a closer, you then operate more as an order taker, because the harder you qualify, the more that you close. And also distancing yourself from the sale and creating a sales process as opposed to a sales event is a very powerful way to manufacture demand in the same way a Mez does, where they make you go on a waiting list, they make you find a store, they make you go see what bags are available in that store because you can't change, you must take what's there, right? They're lengthening the sale, they're increasing the qualification, right? Essentially, they're enhancing the pain, because marketing is pain and sales is solution. So I hope that answers your question. Sweet. Let us know if there's any other questions. I'm keen to hear what else you guys have been, struggling with this week. You don't have to raise your hand. You don't have to get on the mic. All you have to do is simply put it in the chat, if that makes more sense to you. But it's critical that we ask for help. It's critical that we don't fall victim and prey to this lone wolf syndrome, because entrepreneurship is already lonely enough, right? It's the 1% thing. It's not even 80-20. It's really like the 1% that are crazy enough to get into this field of entrepreneurship. Like I was reading a stat to say that I think it's only 0. So out of all entrepreneurs that start a business, 90% kind of fail within the first, I think 60% fail within the first year, 90% fail within the first 3 years, 5% make it to a million, so 5% make it to a million, the other 5 make it to a few million. And of the 5% that make it to a few million, 1% I think make it to a million. And of those, 0.06% make it to multi-7 figures, which is crazy, right? To think that if you are 0.06% of the population that have arrived at a particular place, in terms of financial achievement, is an insane thing. So the odds are against us every day, right? This is hard. Let me not sugarcoat it. If it was easy, I had a good friend, and he was a mentor as well, that helped me and supported me early on in my career. And he always used to have the saying, is like, whenever things would get tough and challenging, and the sky was dark, and the bread was scarce, he would always say, remember, if it was easy, everybody would do it. And so whenever I face challenges and bottlenecks, and I'm struggling to figure something out, I do 2 things. A, I ask for help. I don't subscribe to the lone wolf syndrome, because it's just holding you back. And B, I remember the saying, that if it was easy, everyone would do it. And so it's a challenging marketplace we find ourselves in. But if we are resourceful enough, if we are brave enough, and we are open enough to being vulnerable, we can not only weather, we can succeed. And that's why it's so important. Like I was having a conversation. I was actually onboarding a client the other day, and I was saying, the first thing that we need to do before we get into any of the kind of tactical stuff is really bed down who your target market is, because it's such an important factor in success. Your who, right? Identifying the right type of client, because if you say, for instance, like a great example is, I was speaking to someone that's a real estate investor, and they invest in student housing. And so the opportunity and the gap that they saw was that 99% of people in the student accommodation game are targeting 1st and 2nd year students. So these are often students that are there on financial aid, number one, and that financial aid pays for the accommodation. And they're also very young, and are prone to partying and being less responsible, if I can say it that way. Right. So if you're on financial aid, it means that you need to get certain results in order to keep your financial aid. But if you're spending a lot of time because you're young, partying and socializing, that might not be the best thing for your marks. And if it's not the best thing for your marks, the likelihood of you having to drop out or losing your financial aid is actually quite high. And so you're actually in an at-risk segment. And so if your financial aid is paying for your accommodation, it means that the landlord of that student accommodation is at risk of your behavior as a 17, 18, 19-year-old, that's trying to find themselves, right? As opposed to targeting older students who are more mature, like let's call it third, fourth year honor students that are more mature and are more independent and financially independent and can afford to spend a bit more, to be separated from the pack and the young crazy students. And so this is just another example of how important the who is, because not only do you get a premium, you also get a longer and higher lifetime value, right? You're getting students who can afford to pay a premium and are going to stay longer because they're not at risk. And so these are two things you always have to think about. How do I create this? How do I create the transaction? And how do I acquire a client that's going to stay with me for a long time? So those are two important facts to consider in terms of the who. And your who is really important, whether there's going to be a very different outcome in your business if you serve, for instance, housewives as opposed to, computer engineers. Very different budget, very different spending patterns, and so it's really important to focus on, like I've said before, players with money. So yeah. Okay, let's see if we have any other questions we can check out here from the group. Okay. Looks like you guys are just soaking it in tonight and you are in consumption mode. And I'm here to provide value in advance. And that's perfectly fine. Yeah, it's like I said at the beginning of the call, I think it's such I come here every week with such gratitude to be able to serve and to do so hopefully powerfully and impact you in some way, give you some insight that can transform both you and your business. And I think all it takes is one shift, right? Like if you get like my mentor used to call it the money's worth moment, right? If you can come here and spend 30, 60 minutes with me and get that one thing and walk away and actually take action on that one thing and get the result, that's a money's worth moment, right? Then it's enough. And so always attend whatever you attend in life, looking for your money's worth moments, because the smaller shifts can have the biggest of transformations, right? Big dreams, tiny steps. And I think it's also it's important that we identify the fact that most people are lazy and most people won't take action. Most people won't change or do anything different, even though doing the same thing over and over again is madness, as Einstein said. And so the way to kind of outwit our natural behaviors is to take action as fast as possible. And what I mean by that is if you gain an insight here in one of these conversations and you're able to immediately, as you're on the call or as soon as you're off the call, take some small step in the direction of action, right? Whether it's, registering that domain, whether it's making that post, whether it's creating that ad, whether it's knocking on that door. If you can do that one small thing, the probability of you following through on your action and the likelihood of you getting the results that you're looking for increase by 80%. Just by you taking that one action as fast as possible. And so I think that's a great note to end this week's session off with, is reflect on what we've spoken about, reflect on where you are, your vision, the results that you want to get, and what you're doing right now to achieve those results. And what is the one thing that you can do when you get off this call to change the results that you're currently getting, to move closer to your vision, to make the impact that you want to make. Cool. It's been fun. It's been great. I appreciate, again, your time, your attendance, your attention. And I look forward to meeting you all. And I look forward to many more impactful, powerful conversations. This is Aziz Gul, and this is Ask Aziz live Q&A every Thursday. Join us next time. Peace.